Welcome to the Sports Sesh podcast. This is our third ever episode. We've got quite a bit to talk about today. I'm your host, Mason Shatwell, and my co-host is James Evans.
Lovely to be here again, Mason. How are we?
I'm all right, mate. As we start off with every episode, my Twitter is at MMA Mason and my Instagram is at Mason MMA UK. If you want to give them a follow, go ahead. And do you want to tell them your apps, mate?
For Instagram, it's James.Evans_20, and for Twitter, it's EvansJames99.
Well, second time looking out this film because a bit of a mess up a minute ago. First thing I was going to go for is we've had the first set of fixtures for the Premier League, but before we go on about them, we've got a game that we've both got our eyes on for different reasons tonight. Man City and Chelsea. As you being a Chelsea fan, obviously, you're going to want to secure as many points as you can against a team like City for your top four race. And two reasons, being a United fan for myself, I'd rather City win because it'd help United top four race. We also know if City don't win this game, it's going to end up with Liverpool winning the league tonight. So I know we're both going to be having our eyes on this, but before the game kicks off, let's give a bit of a preview on the game. How do you going yourself?
Well, judging through the team selection, going into the game, Pep said he was going to make some changes to the side. In my opinion, he hasn't done that. He said he's going to rest. It's still a full strength 11, even with any City. Whereas with ours, Lampard's made two changes. I believe he's given Pulisic a start, which is well deserved. He's kept Willian on, which is a bit of a downside, really. I mean, there are no other options until Callum's back. I don't get why Kovacic has dropped. I mean, he's arguably been our best player all season for Ross Barkley, I believe. So I'm a bit disappointed in that. I'd rather Tammy over Giroud. I think he offers a bit more in behind City's defence than Giroud. I think he's a bit of a lamppost in all fairness. Don't get me wrong, he does chip in with the odd goal, Giroud, but for a game like City, to go at Fernandinho and Laporte, I'd rather have Tammy Abraham starting up top.
Yeah, well, with the team selection as well, I do, with City, like you say, it is basically a full-strength squad as well. But I've got a feeling that Chelsea's going to pull something out. Like, it's not going to be an easy game for any of you, but I think Chelsea will pull something out, and I think it's going to be like, I don't know how many goals, but I'm going to say it's going to be a draw, which I'm not wanting, but I think it is going to be a draw.
I think you'd suit either a City win or a draw because, if we get the 3 points tonight, then that's only going to, increase the gap between us and you. So the little points we can drop, the better for you. But I'm never confident when Chelsea are playing. I'm not sure at all tonight. I have no idea what to expect. I'd love to get the 3 points, but it's football. Anything can happen, so we'll have to wait and see.
I know one game's just finished. It was Burnley and Watford, won it, I think.
Yeah, Burnley, Watford, and Arsenal, Southampton.
They've probably finished now. Do you know the score of them two? Do you know what score they finished?
I believe Burnley was 1-0 to Burnley and Southampton Arsenal was 2-0 to Arsenal.
So Arsenal's finally got a win back.
It's about time.
We'll go on to the games that have just happened. I'll go on to my team's game from last night. United 3-0, Sheffield United. Tony Marshall, first hat-trick for United. And first, I think it's his first club career hat-trick. So all round by United, I think it was a good performance and the 3 points that we needed, because the game on Friday when we played Spurs, we had so many chances to put goals away in that game, and even disregarding the penalty that was then taken away, because it weren't a penalty, even without that, we had plenty of chances to get another 2-3 goals, but we just didn't put them away. So if we'd done that, I'm sure we'd still only be a couple of points behind you. Now I think we're 4 or 5, I think. So
no, I think it's even less than that. I think you're 2 points behind us now that you've won yesterday. So that's why we're in desperate need of a win tonight, just to get it back to 5.
Yeah, so if we got them points, obviously, as of right now, I think we would have been in front or maybe behind a goal difference. But either way, it was a decent performance by United. Did you watch the game?
The Friday's one or the last night's?
Yesterday's.
Not particularly. I watched about 10 or so minutes of it. I mean, I think it was expected, since the return of the Premier League, we weren't going to get the entertaining sort of football that we all desired. And I think with all the games we've witnessed so far, I think the only team that's really stood out is City and Liverpool. And rightly so. I mean, last night they were just on a different level, Liverpool. But other than that, we haven't really had any sort of outstanding performances. So, it's obviously great that Martial got his hat-trick. But with Sheffield United, you could say they've overachieved this year, but they've been a joy to watch. And I don't think they've benefited from coronavirus at all, really, because, they drew to Aston Villa. They drew to Newcastle. Now they've lost to United last night, so it's not been a good return for them. But regardless of where they finish, I think Sheffield United fans should be pleased with their performance this season.
Well, there's been obviously a few games, but one game that I was quite surprised with was the Merseyside derby 0-0, and I didn't watch it myself, but heard a lot of backlash online saying it wasn't the most exciting of games for a derby. So, did you watch it yourself?
Yeah, I did watch it. I watched the full game. I think Liverpool they were dominant on the ball. I don't think they created any clear-cut chances, but I think Everton could have snatched it if they had the backing of the home supporters. If they had the fans there, it would have spurred them on, because Everton did have their good chances towards the end, I'd say. So if they had the backing of the fans, they might have just got that one goal just to nick it last minute. But I think, Liverpool were dominant on the ball, but it wasn't the most entertaining of games, in all fairness.
Well, obviously, as you were saying yesterday, Liverpool as well were on another level, beat Palace 4-0. That was only boosting the chances, the probability of him winning the league tonight, which going back to the City-Chelsea game, do you think the pressure of City, this being a must-win game, is going to have any effect on the performance at all?
I mean, obviously, the players are going to know that if they lose tonight, that's it. But to be honest, I don't think it's going to affect them at all, because, it's been a long time coming. It's just a matter of time before they actually win the league. Yeah. So I think with City, they're just going to play how they've been playing recently. They're not going to be fazed at all by the implications of the game afterwards, and obviously what happens. But I think what they're not going to want is, if they win tonight, they're not going to want to lose the title next week, because obviously they host Liverpool at the Etihad. So they really want to, their tails are going to be up for that one. So if there's any game where they're going to be up for, it's probably next week, I'd say. Yeah.
Well, we'll go on to that game soon, but there's also been a few games as well that I've been surprised with. Also, Brighton and Arsenal at the weekend, Brighton 2-1. I don't know what it is with Arsenal, but disregarding the City one, the games where they're expected to do well at home, because I know they've not won away to a top 6 team in a while, but say if they're at home to a decent team, they usually pull something out of the bag and play half decent sometimes. But it's kind of like Liverpool a few years ago. These small teams is where they're slipping up, getting draws and losing these silly games where, to be honest, they shouldn't be dropping points like this. No disrespect to Brighton, but players like Arsenal have, they shouldn't be dropping points to people like Brighton.
No, 100%. And I don't think the loss of Bernd Leno did them any favours early on. I think mentally, it might have affected the Arsenal side slightly in that game. I mean, I hate to say it, but they're in a bit of a sticky situation right now. They're in a bit of a mess, and they have been for a couple of years or so now. I think they tied David Luiz down for a one-year extension, so till the end of next season. I think Mary's just signed a new deal as well. Cedric's just signed a new deal as well, and it's all part of Mikel Arteta's rebuilding of the defence. But I'm sorry, it's a step back in my opinion. It's not a step forward. You want to be ambitious. I think with Arsenal, they've just, they've got the players, but I don't know what it is when it, comes on, when it gets to the pitch, because if they do lose the likes of Aubameyang, Lacazette, or Ozil next year, then that's then finished. Because I don't think they've got the money, but I don't think they've got the money to compete with the likes of City, Arsenal, City, Liverpool, Chelsea.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to affect them for the long run, unless they make any sort of major changes. If they don't, then we're going to see the same old Arsenal for a year or two to come, which is a shame, really, because the foundations are there. They've brought in some top quality players. I'm liking the looks of Saka. They've got a couple of youngsters within their ranks. The potential's there, but if they don't start spending money soon, then we're just going to see the same old Arsenal.
Well, we have got another 2 games that I wanted to talk about that happened over the weekend. First one is your team, Chelsea, Villa. 2-1 Chelsea. I remember putting in the group chat that we've all got Villa winning, and I had a feeling that Villa were gonna pull it out of the bag, but then I checked the result half an hour later and it's 2-1 Chelsea, and it's like I look like a bit of a mug now.
Yeah, I was going to say, be careful what you wish for, son. With that game, I think we controlled the game from start to finish, but I think the problem with us and going forward is our defence. I mean, it is just an absolute shambles. We can buy all the attackers and all the midfielders we want, but if we don't fix up at the back, we don't start doing that, then teams are going to punish us. And I think Rudiger did not look calm and composed at all. Same with Christensen, and they both start tonight. So I wonder how City are going to fare against our centre backs, because, like I said, we dominated Aston Villa. They only had about a couple of chances, but obviously they only needed that one chance to go 1-0 up, whereas we needed God knows how many before we actually scored. So going forward, I think for us, we're going to need to look defensively rather than offensively now that we've got Werner. We don't need anyone, maybe a replacement for William, but now we just don't need the attackers. We just need to look backwards, in my opinion, at the defence situation.
And the next game I was going to talk about, City-Burnley, City 5-0. 2 goals for the local lad, Phil Foden. During these, if obviously City draw or lose tonight, and then obviously the league's Liverpool's, do you think Pep will start playing some of the younger people like Phil and the other young players they've got to give him the experience of I know it's not like proper Premier League without the fans, but give him some Premier League experience during this, if they no way of winning the league?
Yes and no. I think yes. Now that they know that the league's pretty much done and dusted, I think it may be a chance for them to rotate the team, but I don't think with City, I don't think they've got enough youngsters coming through. I think the only players we're going to see coming up through the ranks that may start as Eric Garcia, but he obviously suffered that injury against Arsenal, so I don't know when he'll be back. Yeah. And obviously for Phil Foden, other than that, I don't see who else they're going to bring through. They will rotate their team, but we're just going to see the same old City, in my opinion. I mean, they're just looking at the team sheet now. I don't see how they're going to rotate and what differences they're going to make, because it's just going to be the same City. I think they've got a couple of youth players on the bench, but no, I've not even heard of any of them, and I don't think they're going to be given a chance. I think the only players that are likely to get a chance, like I said, Eric Garcia and Phil Foden.
Well, talking about Phil Foden, with his 2 goals, and obviously now we've known for ages now that this is going to be David Silva's last season with City. With the season coming to an end, do you think at the start of next season, with the way Phil's been playing while he has been given the minutes, he'll probably be one of the regulars for next season, first team?
Yeah, I think the foundations are set. I think Pep's been very clever in that. I think Pep will stay another season, which is good for Phil Foden's career. I think Pep will stay one more year, and it's sort of been set for Phil Foden to burst his way onto the scene next season with Silva going. He's been a great servant to the club, David Silva. He's been an absolute magician, but I think now it's Phil Foden's time, and I think next year, I think the likes of Fernandinho, if he stays, Kevin De Bruyne, all those experienced midfielders, they're certainly going to help him mature a lot more and just sort of ease him into the side and just sort of give him a pat on the back and just say if you give him advice if he needs it. But I think he's only about 19, 20, still a teenager. He's got great potential. I'm looking forward to what the future holds for Phil Foden.
Well, with him being a local lad, to me, coming from near the same area, it would be nice to see someone from this area make it big in football. So fingers crossed it does work out for him like that. But we've also got some other football news in La Liga. Barca's dropped points and now Real are leaders in the league.
Yeah, I think on Friday they drew away to Sevilla. Barcelona 0-0, which did not do their title ambitions any good at all. With that, Real Madrid were able to capitalise when they beat Real Sociedad 2-1 away on Sunday. I think Barcelona played earlier this week as well, and they won 1-0 to Bilbao, and Real Madrid responded with a 2-0 win over Mallorca last night. So it's a case of anything Barca can do, Real Madrid can do better. And I think with the way Real Madrid have been playing since the restart, I see him nicking the league. I mean, there's about 7 or 8 games left, and I really do fancy Real to get it done. I think the drop of points in the sort of head-to-head record does not favour Barcelona at all. So I think they really needed that 3 points away to Sevilla. Now that they blew it, I think we can see Real Madrid add to another title to their pretty big trophy cabinet.
So what do you think actually went wrong for Barcelona in the game where they dropped the points?
With Barcelona this season, I think they've lost too many games. They've dropped a lot of points than they should be. It's Barcelona, they shouldn't be dropping points against teams like Sevilla. I know Sevilla are a very good side on their day, but they're not as good as they used to be, in my opinion. Sevilla, obviously, you saw them year in, year out challenging for the Europa League.
Yeah,
they were there for the taking. Sevilla, with Barcelona, I think they've just swapped Arta for Pjanic, I believe, which is crazy. I don't get it. They've got an aging squad. They're too reliant on Messi, and I think the problem is they've got to start preparing for the future rather than bringing in the old guns and sort of looking at the short term rather than long term. With Real Madrid, they've got such young prospects and talent coming through, and I think that's going to help them in the future. Whereas Barcelona, I just think it's a bit mismanaged at the moment, and Real Madrid is sort of benefiting from that as of right now.
Well, talking about Barcelona being now not in the first place anymore, we've also in Serie A we've got Juventus who are only just narrowly top of the league at the minute. Do you think Juventus will do the same as Barca and slip up and then lose the lead at the top?
It's a tough one because, like I said about a week or two ago in the last one, Sarri's tactics are so stale. I mean, he's brought his Chelsea tactics to Juve, and then the fans have been very frustrated with the way Juventus have played this season. And you've got to feel sorry for the Juventus fans. I mean, Lazio had the chance to reduce the gap to 1 point, I believe, last night, and they went 2-0 up and they bottled a lead away to Atlanta. But Lazio is still 4 points behind, but with Chirio and Mobley in their ranks, they could pull it off, but because they dropped points away to Atlanta last night, and Juventus are hosting Nice tomorrow, I believe, I think that's only going to favour Juventus a bit more, and I think they'll get it done purely based on that. Lazio dropping points to Atlanta last night, that's not going to do them any favours at all.
No, not at all. But going on to another league, the Championship back over here in England. Promotion. Who do you think is going to get it?
I'm leaning towards West Brom with this one. I think Slaven Bilic, he's an experienced sort of manager. He knows the game. He's managed in the Premier League. He knows what it takes to compete at the highest level. So I think his sort of experience is just going to pave the way for West Brom to nick it this year. And I think, as much as football fans hate to say it, I think this is Leeds' time. It's been so long. I think so many people have laughed at their demise when they've bottled playoff again and again and again and again. But I think now's their time. I think what's sort of interesting is now is the playoff sort of campaign. I think Leeds and West Brom will go up automatically, but the playoff spots are so open right now. I mean, I would lean towards Fulham, but after watching Brentford away to Fulham on Saturday, I think Brentford wants to not. They're like the dark horse, I think, this season. Many probably wouldn't expect them to be where they are right now. Maybe just sneaking into the playoffs, but I think with likes of Watkins and Benrahma, I think they've got Janssen as well. They've invested well. They've got great players to compete, and I think they could do some damage in the playoff campaign. So they're not one to overlook upon.
Well, as you were saying, I do believe West Brom will win the league, and I know a lot of United fans would say pains them to say, but I'd like to see Leeds back in the league just based off the rivalry alone. Like it's just like West Ham and Millwall rivalries like that, where there is a hatred for each other's team, but then when you if you're at the game, the atmosphere is next to none for a huge rivalry. The atmosphere, like I just said, next to none. I imagine it's the same for like a Chelsea-Tottenham game or something, but I'd look forward to a United and Leeds match in the Premier League.
And don't get me and don't remember. I think you can't forget that Leeds back in the day, they used to be a well-established Premier League side. They were competing for Europe, so they won't be seen as the new boys of the league. They've, in terms of their history, they've been around the highest level, so they know what to expect. It's just whether or not their current crop can compete in the Premier League, who knows? But I think we're all a fan of Bielsa. I think he's a bit of a funny lad at times. He's a good manager on his day. He's got the experience at Marseille, I believe. He's had the top experience. So I think with a manager like Bielsa in the Premier League, I think it's certainly what Leeds are going to want. And I think, it'll be good to see how well they can play in the Premier League next year if they do go up, of course.
And like we just said, I would like to see Leeds, but also through the playoffs. I'm not gonna lie, I was quite surprised when I was going through the schedule before and I looked at who is in the contention for playoffs, and I seen Brentford there, and I thought that was a bit surprising. But I would like to see a team like Brentford, because I'm not sure have they been in the Prem before.
I don't think they have, and not in the Premier League, obviously, since it started. Maybe in the first division, but I don't know, but not in the Premier League.
I think it would be nice for a club like Brentford to come into the league, but also I've seen Blackburn weren't too far away. I'd also like to see them back up in the Prem. That'd be decent.
It's just so tight. Like I think from third place to ninth, eighth, ninth, maybe 10th, pushing it. They're all in contention for the playoffs. So you've got the likes of Preston North End, Nottingham Forest all competing. It's so tough up there, and that's what's going to make it interesting, because we've got about 6 or 7 games, on top of my head, left towards the end of the season, and it's all to play for the playoff spot. So anything can happen, but maybe the sort of experience of Fulham might pull them through. But like you said, you've got the Blackburns, the Preston North Ends, and the Brentfords that could cause some real shock. You just never know in the Championship. Anything's possible. And obviously, they say the Championship playoff final is the richest game in football. So all of the teams who are in the playoffs and competing for the playoffs are all going to be competing for the £100 million or so payday, or however much it is.
Well, with the playoff final, we both think West Brom and Leeds are going to go up automatically. With the playoffs, I'd say I'd like Brentford, and also Blackburn, maybe even Preston. I'd like to see a team that you wouldn't have expected at the start of the season to be up there, because I don't know much about the Championship or what goes on down there. But I know Cardiff, Leeds, West Brom, not Forest, Fulham. They're teams that have the name and would steadily be expected to be up there. But then you've obviously got the likes of Brentford, Preston, and Blackburn. Then they might not be names that you're gonna expect to be near the top. But I would like to see a team like lower down the table be promoted.
100%. I think it was the same with Huddersfield couple of seasons ago when they went up. Nobody expected them to, and I think I can't remember who they beat on penalties. I want to say it was Sheffield Wednesday. I think at the top of my head, I can't remember, but I know or Reading. Yeah, Sheffield Wednesday or Reading. I think it might have been Reading. You're right, but they won on penalties, and it was just. Yeah. I'm not a Huddersfield fan, but I was through limbs when they got through to the Premier League because no one's seen Huddersfield in the Premier League before. It's a shame to see where they are at the moment. I don't think we'll see them again in the Premier League for a long time, but it was good to have a new sort of team in the Premier League competing for going to the likes of Stamford Bridge, Manchester United, Old Trafford, Emirates, just for that experience. I don't think we'll see it again with Huddersfield. We might get a shock team that goes up this year, but it's always good to have that team that nobody expects to go up, goes up, and then sometimes causes havoc in the Premier League. It's always good to see those teams.
Well, while we're on about going up, I'd like to announce, obviously, we're having a couple of episodes next week, and the first confirmed guest we've got is Josh Kay from Barrow. They've just recently been promoted from the National League into League Two, so if anyone does have any questions they'd like us to ask Josh, put them in the comments below, and we'll be sure to ask him for him. Right, now we'll go on to MMA. But I know we gave predictions last week on the episode where we had tons of predictions, but Porier and Hooker, I know we both said Porier, but I say we go a bit more in depth on why we think that.
I think with the upcoming main event this weekend, I think it's going to be more of a striking matchup, which is obviously any MMA fan, any UFC fan would know when it comes to Dan Hooker and Dustin Porier. It's got all the ingredients to be a sensational scrap. You had Josh Emmett versus Shane Burgos last weekend, and what a scrap that was. Whether that can live up to it, it might exceed it. With Dustin Porier, I'm obviously backing him, but what I've seen across social media, some people leaning towards Dan Hooker, and I think I get that. He's on a bit of a good streak at the moment. He's earned his way to fight the likes of Dustin Poirier's, the Tony Ferguson's, like the top contenders. He's earned the right to face them. Like I said, he's on a bit of a roll at the moment. So that confidence-wise, mentally-wise, that's going to sort of do him a lot of favours going into this weekend. Whereas with Dustin Poirier, he's coming off of that loss to Khabib. He hasn't been as active since. So, you don't know what to expect. What Dustin Poirier is going to show up, nobody knows. If we sort of see the run he had before Khabib, where he beat Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje, those guys, I think we'll see a good Dustin Poirier and a Poirier that will go on to win this weekend's fight. But if we're sort of seeing that mentally scarred Poirier and the less active Poirier, then the sort of activeness of Dan Hooker might sort of play into his hands this weekend. So it's going to be a good fight, I reckon.
Well, as you were saying, it's going to be more of a striking fight. I do agree with you on that. If people want to see the full predictions we've made for the upcoming UFC events, check out the last episode. But there's also obviously the striking. I think the boxing factor for Porier is going to be quite a lot to handle for Dan Hooker. But like we've said, Dan Hooker's not someone to be overlooked in the slightest. His fight against Paul Felder, what a scrap that was. But I do believe Porier will pull it out of the bag, and I'm going for a 5th round TKO just because I want to see not a long fight, but I want to see the fight go near the distance, and then every MMA fan wants to see it finish. But I do believe the stand-up will be more leaning towards Porier, but I don't know who to edge it for if it goes to the ground.
No, neither. I mean, with Porier, I believe he trains at ATT, and they've got a couple of got a lot of sort of fighters who are capable of performing on the ground. Mike Brown, he's an elite coach. So with regards to that sort of department, I think they're obviously going to be focusing on the striking. But with Mike Brown, he's just going to be like, Dustin, if you're going to mix it up, try and take it to the ground if need be, because we want to mix up your game a bit. Just sort of confuse Dan Hooker, because standing up, it's anyone's game. Obviously, Porier edged it in terms of the boxing and the sort of striking edge, but Dan Hooker's sort of likes to mix it up in terms of his striking, and we sort of see an unpredictable Dan Hooker when it comes to striking. So maybe Mike Brown would say to Dustin that if you're in a bit of trouble, try and take it to the floor. Try and take him into deep water. See if he can survive on the ground, just to mix it up a bit. But like you said, I think it's going to sort of be a standing matchup between the pair.
Well, the UFC posted a video on Facebook before, and I seen it pop up, so I gave it a watch. It was, I think it was all of Dustin Porier's finishes in the UFC, and he has had a couple on the ground. I know he beat the first fight with Max. I think that was by submission, I think. But I know he's had a few ground and pound TKO wins, so we know if it goes to the ground, Poirier, I don't know how comfortable he would be, but I know I don't think he'd shy away from it.
100%. I mean, the takedowns are there, but if you've always got to back your ability, and if Poirier is confident standing wise and he believes he's got the edge over Hooker in that sort of aspect, then use it. But by all means. But if he wants to sort of mix it up, like you said, a couple of his wins have come by ground and pound on the mat. You might want to take it to the floor and see if he can get the finish on the floor. You just never know.
Well, there's another fight that is quite appealing for MMA fans, only because I'd say I'm quite looking forward to seeing Mike Perry back in the cage. But before we talk about the actual fight, Mike Perry is going to be a one-woman corner. He's, like he said, he's got his girlfriend in the corner, and I don't think many people believed him when he said it, but I think he posted a picture through the week on Instagram, I believe it was, of his girlfriend's pass for being in his corner, and it's not I think he'll still win the fight, but if it goes multiple rounds, I don't think it's going to be a wise decision for him not having his corner there, giving him the advice he needs.
He's an absolute idiot. I don't get it. I saw a video this week of him saying, look, I don't think the coaches helped me at all. In my first few fights, they were sort of saying stuff that didn't benefit me at all. And by the time I already was edging the fight, let's say, the coaches would then chirp in and say, look, here's what you need to do. And Mike's there like, I'm already doing it. And, he doesn't benefit from the coach, which is fair enough. But to go, it's a UFC fight. It's a big fight for Mike Perry. You're always going to want to have your coaches there by his side. I mean, I don't get what was going through his head when he's like, I want my girlfriend to be in my corner. Because does she have any MMA experience? I don't think she does. No. So I think he said he wanted to listen to Mickey's corner and what the pundits say, and other than that, he's just going to focus on his game, which, I get that, but you still want to have your coaches in your corner just to give you that sort of aspect, like that mental edge, because it might be 1-0 going into the third, and you sort of want your coach's advice just to sort of get you through that third round and maybe give you that split decision victory. But I have no idea what he's doing. It's just pathetic.
Well, with him doing all the coaches didn't really benefit me. I just want my girlfriend in the corner. Do you think that's going to have any effect on Mickey Gall?
He's probably going to be a lot more confident for that fight in terms of Mike openly coming out and say, I'm only going to have my girlfriend in my corner. And Mickey's obviously going to be absolutely pumped by that news. It's sort of, in his eyes, it's going to give him that mental edge and that sort of confidence booster he might need. Other than that, I mean, you just don't know what to expect. I mean, we could see Mike Perry absolutely slaughter him, and we might see Mickey get all confident. So you just never know.
Well, I do believe the experience of Mike Perry is going to have the upper hand over Mickey, but I wouldn't be surprised if Mickey pulled it out of the bag.
No, it's hard to back Mike right now. I mean, I think his last fight wasn't it against Jeff Neal? I think so, at the top of my head. And, there's no shame in losing to Jeff Neal, because as of right now, there's a lot of welterweights that are you could say that they're avoiding Jeff Neal. He hasn't got a fight coming up, and he's one of the dark horses of that division. He's slowly making his way up, so there's no shame in losing to Jeff Neal. But Mike's been in around the game for a while, so he's definitely got the experience, and that might play a factor in this fight with Mickey Gall.
Well, fingers crossed it doesn't, but what have we got now? There's been a bit of beef online between, I don't know if you've seen it, Chad Mendes and Mr. Mike Bisping. What's your thoughts on it?
I briefly heard about it, but obviously once you messaged me about it, I went into it a bit further. What was it? I think, was it Chad responding to Tim Kennedy's Instagram post, just sort of slating Michael Bisping, sort of questioning his desire and that sort of stuff?
I think it's because of, obviously, we all know what Bisping's thoughts are on people that fail the USADA test.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Bisping's probably made a comment on that, and can't remember the reason Chad failed the test. What was it? What substance, or what was it that he failed the test for?
I think it was some sort of substance, but I think Mike, that's something steroid related. I think that's what Mike said as well. And then he came out on Instagram to say that it wasn't steroids and that he let himself fail the drugs test. It's just a load of rubbish.
There's no excuses for failing drugs test unless it is a genuine thing where it is a tainted substance. But the comments that Chad made me laugh. I can't remember the full story, but it was he'd take his soul or something, just like Dan Hendo did, and then put a picture up of where he knocked Bisping out. That made me laugh a bit. But do we think we'll see Chad Mendes jumping up to 185 and Mike Bisping making a miraculous return anytime soon?
God's sake. Yeah, I'd be down for that. I mean, Chad's a very small lad, so he's going to have to do a Volkanovski-esque, but vice versa. He's going to have to put on the weight rather than losing it. But no, I think be careful what you wish for, Chad, because Mike will absolutely batter the living daylights out of you.
Even now with his one knee, one eye.
Yeah. People still take the mick out of his eye, but he still won a world title with that one eye. So there you go.
Well, the poster for UFC 251 was revealed this week, and I didn't know it was going to be released, but in the corner of it, they put the UFC 4 official reveal video game's going to be revealed at UFC 251, and I think it was Khabib's manager posted about who's going to be on the cover, and he said, I can't remember what he said, but he said, one, you've got a great champion, and then the person you go with for has losses in the double digits. So I don't know if they're on about Masvidal there, but who do you believe should be on the? I know it's video games and it's don't really affect what a fighter does, but if anything, I reckon there should have been 3 fighters on there. I would say Masvidal just for the popularity he's got, and then also Izzy and Khabib.
Yeah, I think 2019 was sort of a meteoric rise for Masvidal. He hadn't fought since that loss to Wonderboy, I believe, back in 2017. So he needed that time away to figure out who he was and sort of what changes he needed to make in his sort of fighting style. And he came back and just obviously beat Till, beat Ben Askren, beat Nick Diaz. So you've got to respect him in that sense. In the popularity sort of regards, he does deserve it. Khabib, obviously, it's a no-brainer. He's the undefeated Russian champion. Thoroughly deserves the plaudits. He's such a phenomenal athlete. Izzy, I'd like to see him on the cover. I think, again, it's sort of the similar story with Mazza. He sort of had a meteoric rise with the UFC. I think from his first fight to Rob Whittaker, that was about just over or just under a 2-year spell in the UFC. So to win a middleweight title in 2 years, bearing in mind the middleweight division is not easy to claim success at.
No.
And you've got to respect him at all. And you've got to respect him. I personally like to see the Izzy, Khabib or Amanda Nunes, personally, at the top of my head. I just think, I think some people sort of tend to overlook her because obviously, some people might overlook her because she's a female athlete, and it's very easy for her because the featherweight division, there is none. So it's sort of handpicked for her. and the bantamweight division. But you look at what she's done. No one's beaten her in over 10 fights. She's just been absolutely explosive in recent years. So she thoroughly deserves it. I believe it was to Raquel Pennington, I think, off the top of my head. I think that was in like 2014, I think.
Yeah,
so
it's been a fair while.
It's been a fair while, and I think what she's done for the sport, she's put women's MMA on the map, in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, she thoroughly, in that sort of aspect, she deserves to be on the cover.
And with Amanda, she obviously, Ronda Rousey was the main front runner for women's MMA. Amanda Nunes came in, beat the crap out of Ronda in what I think it was just over or just under a minute, and then now she's gone on to beat the likes of Holly Holm, Chris Cyborg, and then recently Felicia Spencer. So there's not much more Amanda can do at the minute in women's MMA because there's no one left for her to give her a challenge apart from potentially a trilogy with Valentina Shevchenko. But I see, obviously, like we were saying in the other episode, I think the UFC are looking more towards Weili Zhang and Valentina.
Yeah, it's a shame I don't think we're going to see the trilogy fight. I personally would like to see it, but they're sort of, like you said, leaning towards Weili and Valentina. So with that regards, Dana said recently, if once she retires, the featherweight division's sort of done. And I sort of get that because it's a shame. He said a couple of years ago, I want to build around that division, but they never sort of signed the talent.
Yeah.
And I sort of get his reasoning behind closing it down because there's nobody. But then what does that mean for Felicia? And then whereas with the bantamweight division, God knows what's going to happen with that. I think she does. I think she should retire personally soon because there's no one left. She's beaten everyone.
Well, if Nunes and Shevchenko trilogy fight was to happen, would you have Amanda winning that? Because I think I'd edge for an Amanda decision.
Yeah, 100%. I think a couple of years ago, the second time they fought, many were leaning towards Valentina in terms of the decision. It was a close fight, but she's sort of gained a lot of experience from that second fight, and she sort of established herself as more of an accomplished, well-rounded fighter. And I think she's achieved so much following the win the second time over Valentina. So I think in that sort of sense, she'll take it. I think she'll take the third fight if it were to happen.
Well, there is talks for, I think it's August 29th, for a fight between Yair Rodriguez and Zabit in the featherweight division. And if that fight does come about and it does take place, who have you got winning that? Because I think I'd edge towards Zabit.
It's a tough one. I mean, you look at what Calvin Kattar did towards the end of the 3 rounds. Is it going to be a main event?
I'm not sure.
I think maybe because I've read mixed. I've seen a co-main and I've also seen a main event. So I just don't know.
Yeah.
If it's a main event, that sort of leans towards Yair because we've seen Zabit's cardio. We've seen what he's like towards the later rounds. But if it is a co-main, I'm going for Zabit because it's just Zabit. I mean, he's such a well-rounded athlete. I mean, his striking's not there, but everything else he's just got to a T. And I think against a guy like Rodriguez, I think stylistically wise, the way sort of Yair approaches fights, that's going to benefit Zabit. But Yair loves his leg kicks.
Yeah.
So if he gets him early on with a couple, then you never know. Zabit might sort of struggle with that. But yeah, I'm leaning towards Zabit in this one.
Fingers crossed. And another fight that I think is happening, I've seen Uriah Hall post on Instagram a fight between himself and Yoel Romero. Who would you have winning that?
Uriah's on a 2-fight win streak, I believe, and Romero has not won a fight since 2018. So, some people talk about his decision loss to Robert Whittaker the second time, whether he deserved the win or not. But yeah, like I said, he's lost to Whittaker, he's lost to Adesanya, he's lost to Costa his last few fights. So that's not going to do him any favours going into the fight with Hall. But I think I don't think this one will be a main event. I think this one will be a 3 rounds. So I think Romero will win this one. I think he'll get back on the winning streak.
Well, either way, with the middleweights, there's usually any fight in the middleweight division has the ability to be a classic. But if it turns out to be like that or not, we don't know, because we knew what happened with Izzy and Yol. That was predicted to be a proper cracker, but didn't turn out that way, did it?
No, it's a shame, but like I don't blame Israel at all for what he did. I blame Romero because this is his last title shot he was probably going to get, and for him to perform the way he did, it's laughable, honestly, because Izzy knew what to expect from Romero, so he didn't want to get too close. He didn't want to fight Yoel's game because he knew the opportunity to get knocked the living daylights out was there. So Israel was cautious in that sort of regard, and you've got to respect him for that. So I don't blame Israel at all. I blame Romero for his approach to that fight. He's like, oh, why you run like Usain Bolt and all that? I was like, well, why aren't you doing your job and fight?
Well, I'll go back to the fight we've just been talking about, Yair and Zabit. Whoever wins that fight, I know obviously at UFC 251 we've got Volkanovski and Holloway. Whoever wins the title fight at UFC 251, do you think they'll face the winner of Zabit and Yair?
But not to mention, you've also got Ortega versus Korean Zombie in the wings.
Yeah.
So it depends if that fight does go through. If Brian Ortega wins, I think Ortega fights the winner personally. And I think if he beats Yair, I think he needs one more fight before fighting for the title.
Yeah. And
with Yair, again, if he wins against Zabit, I don't think he's ready yet. He may need 1 or 2 more fights before he fights for the belt. So I think Ortega gets the next shot if he beats Korean Zombie, personally.
Well, I do agree with you on that point, but if Brian Ortega comes out and defeats Korean Zombie, and then whoever wins the Volkanovski and Max rematch, do you think Ortega everyone's got a chance beating each other, but do you think Ortega would pull it out of the bag, or do you think it'd end up the same result as when he fought Max, he'd lose the fight?
As of right now, I don't see Ortega becoming a featherweight champion. I don't see it. If he fights Max again, he loses, in my opinion. I think with a fight like Volkanovski is a dangerous fighter for any featherweight in that division. So it might be a case of Volkanovski sort of taking the fight for the full 25 minutes in that one against Ortega. But as of right now, I don't see Brian Ortega becoming a UFC champion as of right now.
Well, last thing I've got on the schedule to talk about anymore, I don't know yet, but I didn't tell you about this one. I've only just seen it like half an hour before it was.
Oh, why did you do this to me?
Cage Warriors is returning for a triple header in September. Have you got any thoughts on that? Are you excited to see Cage Warriors back?
How have we not scored?
Who scored?
No, I thought we Chelsea nearly scored. I don't know how we've missed. It's like a tap in at the far post. Somehow we saved it. It looked offside, but doesn't matter. With Cage Warriors, I think I'm not a big watcher of Cage Warriors. However, I know the background of it. I know that UFC have seen many champions come through the Cage Warriors ranks. So I think with Cage Warriors, it's sort of Europe's sort of biggest MMA promotion, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it's good for the sort of European sort of fight league. Let's call Cage Warriors European Fight League. It's good to have that back because obviously with the UFC, there's restrictions for fighters as to where they can go and where they can't fight. Whereas with Cage Warriors, there's probably going to be a set venue somewhere in Europe, whether they might have other venues. So for Cage Warriors, it's big to have that back, and certainly it's a good promotion because obviously I've seen a fair few fights on my timeline, so I might get into Cage Warriors a bit more because I'm liking what I'm seeing. There's some phenomenal fighters in there. I think it's a sort of promotion where Europe's best sort of go head to head, and I'm like the return of it. It's only going to do bits for the European MMA.
Yeah, with doing the interviews I've been doing, I've spoke to quite a few Cage Warriors stars, and like we've been saying, the people that we interview with back, I know there's an interesting fight I'd like to see happening. I think it's the bantamweight division. Champion Jack Cartwright against Adam Wilson. I interviewed Adam, and I think that fight would be a good matchup for both. If Jack wins, I think he'd go on to the UFC, and then if Adam wins, he'd have one or two defenses, and I think he'd go on to the UFC. So there's, if people are in, I'm gonna start getting into Cage Warriors myself to watch people that I've spoke to. But if the fights that could be made, it's gonna be exciting either way. So I do believe that it is gonna be good.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like you said, for Europe's MMA, it's huge because should you impress on that big stage, it gives you many options for the future with the UFC. With the, there's potential there for you to compete even further and at a higher level. But I say at a high level, you can't disregard Cage Warriors, because there are some phenomenal champions and there are some phenomenal athletes within those ranks. So it'd be good to have Cage Warriors back and sort of see how they're going to return, what sort of rules and regulations they've got in place to sort of have a smooth running industry and an organisation. Is it going to be like the UFC? You just don't know. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of rules they implement when it actually does return.
Well, we've covered everything on the list today, but one thing I was going to say to everyone before.
Oh, go Pulisic, you're in. Yes! 1-0. Let's fucking have it. Christian Pulisic. Let's have it.
I told you I didn't want to see gutted on camera.
Let's have it. I don't care if Liverpool win the league. I don't. Honestly, it's going to happen.
Oh my days!
I
what
don't
are you
care.
doing, City?
I don't, mate. They had a free kick in our half, and it was a poor free kick. We headed it away, and I think City sort of messed up at the back, and Pulisic literally had two men on him. And I think he just ran on his own, no help, slotted it away, bottom corner, bish bash bosh on the stroke of half time.
Well, I'm quite disappointed. Yeah, I'm quite disappointed in you. Your full attention should be on the podcast at the minute. Sod the football.
Oh mate, come on. We've covered everything. I mean, it's bound to happen. Come on. Let's not be silly now. It's football. Come on.
Well, as I was saying before, Chelsea rudely interrupted me, and we've started a group on Facebook called the Sports Sesh Podcast, and in there there is talks of we're going to have some episodes where we're allowing fans of the group to come on and talk with us, but we're also posting there who we've contacted to potentially get guests on there. And as I said earlier in the episode, we have got Josh K coming on Tuesday, but I'm not going to mention his name yet because we're not 100% sure if it'll happen, but we could have a well-known commentator from the BBC and Match of the Day on Monday. But one name that James put in the group that he's heard back from is, well, I'll let you tell him yourself, mate.
Was this the recent one I posted on the page?
Yes.
I'm surprised they got back to me this quickly. It was obviously Bayern Munich's superstar Alphonso Davies. I think I just messaged their who was it? I messaged the agency that ran them because in Canada they don't have that many sort of big name footballers, and they haven't got that many footballers within their ranks. So they got back to me pretty quickly. They said, because obviously if you're aware, the Bundesliga is finished. So they got back to me pretty quickly, and they say Alfonso's got a couple of media duties during June and July. He's got a break, and in August there's opportunity. If you email me again, he's one of his agents, we'll be sure to sort something out. So that's good if we got Alfonso on, because he's just coming into his career. He's torn the Bundesliga up this year. I've been such a big fan of him. I think it's such joy to watch, with him in the MLS. It's proven that if you're sort of good enough, you're old enough, regardless of your age. I think Alfonso got his opportunity pretty early on in his career, and grabbed it with both hands, and now look at him. He's one of the big names across Europe. So you've got to respect him in that sort of regards.
Well, when you messaged me and told me that, I was pretty shocked. Obviously, we'd hear back off a team like someone from Alfonso. But if we do get him, like you say, it'll be a great guest on to speak to him, because I know obviously it's America or Canada he's from, one of the two.
Canada, yeah.
And speaking to him, it'd be good to speak to him about his transition from moving from there to then go live in Germany, playing in the Bundesliga, etc., winning the title. But we're not going to, don't think we'll say any more names as of yet on the group, but we have had contact with other people and contacting plenty more. But if anyone does have any suggestions that they'd like us to get on the podcast, please put in the comments or join the Facebook group and post in there, because the group's not just for me and James posting. We want everyone to post in it so we can feedback on the podcast, listen to who you want on, what you want us to talk about. So it'd be good if everyone could post in the group.
And that's the thing. I think we've only set up the page not even a week, and we've got a decent following already. We've had such good feedback already, and we're getting sort of comments from various people as to who we should interview and who they'd like to see. So it's good in that sort of sense. We're communicating with the people and with the followers. So hopefully we can only expand. And like you said, rightly so, it's not just about us. We want to provide content for you. And if you've got a suggestion, put it forward to us and we'll see what we can do.
So obviously, everything that we're going to do, whoever we hear back from when we've contacted them, will be posted in the group. So everyone search the Sports Sesh podcast on on Facebook, and then be sure to join that group. And we'll have at least 2 episodes next week, because we've got Josh K on Tuesday, and then we've got the usual Thursday episode, and we could potentially have more guests through the week. So there's going to be a minimum of 2 episodes next week. So we'll be sure to see you next week, guys. Take care, everyone. See you in a bit.